Hi, my name's Eric Simpson and I'm the Athletic Director at Marist High School. Since the interruption of school last spring, we've been working hard to prepare for a return to sports at school. This presentation is designed to give Marist parents important information regarding the status of athletics. Please know that the climate of scholastic athletics in Illinois is very fluid, and we'll communicate changes to athletic protocols via our coaching staffs, email, our Marist websites, and social media. The Illinois Board of Education has provided schools and youth sports programs with guidance regarding the relative safety of each sport. The ISBE and the National Federation of High School Sports have stratified sports into low, medium, and high-risk categories. As you can see, 6 of our fall sports programs, boys and girls cross country, boys and girls golf, girls tennis, and girls swimming, have been deemed low-risk sports, and Marist is currently engaged in activity. The football, boys soccer, and girls volleyball seasons have been postponed due to their characterization as medium or high-risk sports. This slide illustrates various sport-specific mitigations that we are following in order to host activity in some of the low-risk sports. Additional athletic-specific guidance has been provided by the IHSA and is being implemented by our athletic staff and coaches. Please note that the single lane restriction for girls swimming has been lifted for practice sessions. Each strata or category of sports is currently allowed to participate in a specific level of activity. As you can see from this illustration, the low-risk sports are currently allowed to participate in level 3 activity, while the high-risk sports are limited to level 1 activity. Our low-risk sports are currently permitted to compete against conference opponents or opponents within Marist's geographical COVID zone. As you can see, medium-risk sports such as volleyball, soccer, and 7-on-7 football are currently permitted to participate in intra-squad scrimmages with a waiver of consent from parents. Please know that Marist considers intra-squad scrimmages as close contact activity. This means if a student participating in an intra-squad scrimmage tests positive, his or her teammates will likely be quarantined for up to 14 days. This is why an additional waiver is required for intra-squad scrimmage in these sports. Our high-risk or contact sports are currently relegated to strength and conditioning and other non-contact activity. We have been screening students since the resumption of athletic activity this summer. Students have been screened for temperature checks as well as COVID-related symptoms. Students must self-monitor for these symptoms prior to arrival at Marist. And any person with symptoms or a positive COVID-19 test should not participate in practice, competition, or conditioning and should be referred to a physician for evaluation and only return after clearance to do so from a physician. Marist employees, students, and their families are asked to abide by the Chicago Travel Order, which took effect on July 6th. We emphasize that students must be honest about their health and stay home if they have any symptoms. Adhering to these protocols and being honest about your health will help to ensure that our students continue to play. As I mentioned, the IHSA has revised their seasons. The fall season will now run from August 10th to October 24th. And those sports, once again, include our golf teams, girls tennis, both cross-country programs, and our girls swimming programs. It's important to note that spectator or group gatherings are subject to IDPA guidelines, and right now, that means less than 50 spectators at any given sport. We do not expect this to impact our golf or tennis teams, but our cross-country and swimming events may be restricted or spectators may be asked not to come depending on the host and the size of the event. Once again, please note that football, girls volleyball, and boys soccer have been moved to the spring 2021 season. The IHSA winter season will take place from November 16th through February 13th. and this will include our traditional winter sports: boys and girls basketball, wrestling, competitive cheer and dance, and boys and girls bowling. Once again, I want to emphasize that at this time, basketball, wrestling, cheerleading, and dance would not be able to have normal activity or compete if there is not a change in the climate of COVID in our state. Tentatively, contests are set to begin November 30th within our conference and our Illinois COVID region. Schools would be limited to a maximum of 2 contests per week, and no tournaments or events of more than 3 teams would be allowed. Spectator groupings would be subject to IDPH guidelines during this time. The IHSA spring season would include our traditional fall sports, which were not able to participate at this time: football, boys soccer, and girls volleyball. Those sports are tentatively scheduled for a March 1st contest date, with the exception of football, which could begin on March 5th. Schools would be limited to 2 contests per week and 1 contest per week in football. Spectators and group gatherings, once again, would be subject to IDPH guidelines. The state series in all sports is to be determined. This means that IHSA playoffs may or may not occur in a given sport. The IHSA has created a summer season for our traditional spring sports. This summer season would begin May 3rd and end June 26th. Baseball, softball, our track and field teams, girls soccer, boys volleyball, our 2 lacrosse programs, and boys tennis are all part of the tentative summer season. I want to emphasize that at this time, baseball, softball, track and field, and boys tennis are viable. Unless the climate changes related to COVID, girls soccer, boys volleyball, and lacrosse would not be able to participate in this season. Contests for the spring season may begin on May 17th, a maximum of 2 events per week with the exception of baseball and softball, which would be given 3 games if they play double headers on the weekends. Registration is mandatory for all sports. I'm excited to tell you that over 1,000 athletes are already registered for our scholastic sports offerings throughout the course of the year. To register, go to the Marist 8 to 18 sports website and click on online registration. That will take you to a login account and enable you to register. Questions about registration should be directed to Sue Blisk, our athletics secretary. Sports physicals are required prior to tryouts for any sport. They are valid for 395 days, and we recommend summer as the best time to schedule your physical exam so that your physical does not expire during the course of a scholastic athletic season. The physicals that are required for freshman year do qualify as athletic physicals, so freshmen are not required to submit a separate athletic physical. Marist does not have any insurance policy insuring students against accidents and injuries while participating in student activities. However, we can provide an accident insurance plan by request. In-season practices will be permitted 7 days per week, including afternoon on Sundays. Due to constraints regarding after-school supervision, coaches are asked to host lower-level practices on Mondays at 3 p.m. or later, Fridays at 1:30, or on the weekends. Lower-level practice can begin at 1:30 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday if our coaches can accommodate this start time. It's important to note that our faculty and staff coaches do have obligations for professional development and department meetings until 3 p.m. on these days, so it may not be possible to host practices at 1:30. I want to emphasize in addition that practices missed due to transportation difficulties will be excused. I have asked our coaches to show lenience regarding absences during the COVID pandemic. However, we should note that Repeated absences will likely slow student development due to a lack of repetition and missing new material. So regardless of if the absence is excused, it may lead students to fall behind in terms of competition for their role on various teams. Out-of-season sports will also be permitted to practice 7 days per week, including afternoon on Sundays. Once again, due to constraints regarding after-school supervision, our freshman and sophomore students are directed to practice Mondays at 3 p.m. or later, Fridays at 1:30, or on the weekends. No after-school supervision will be provided for juniors and seniors. They must vacate the building prior to practice. Again, this will mean that on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, juniors and senior students will be asked to leave the building if they have an afternoon practice beginning at 3 p.m. or later. Regarding athletic transportation, Marist will likely not provide transportation for weekend events or games unless spectators are not allowed to attend a particular event. In most cases, students and coaches will meet at the contest or practice sites on weekends. When buses are utilized, masks must be worn on buses at all times. Marist will operate on a 1 student per seat basis. This would give us 7 students and 1 driver permissible on a Marist activity bus, or approximately 23 students plus coaches permitted on a Positive Connections charter bus. Overnight and out-of-state travel has been suspended and will be reevaluated at a later date. Contest schedules will be revised to limit travel distances. If you have registered your student for athletics at Marist, you have consented to the following regarding athletic transportation. I want to give you a moment to review what you have consented to via registration. In the event that you do not consent to any of these terms, please contact Sue Blisk in the athletic office. Parent-coach communication is still a key component to our athletic programs. Communications parents should receive from coaches includes the philosophy of the coach, the expectations the coach has for the players on the team, times and dates of practices and contests, team requirements, participant code of conduct, and communication concerning each athlete's role on the team and how she fits into the future, he or she fits into the future of the program. In addition to our uniform return policy. Communication coaches should expect from parents includes concerns expressed directly to the coach first, notification of any schedule conflicts, specific concern regarding coach's philosophy or expectation. Please note it's best to notify the trainer and or the coach regarding health concerns like allergies, the use of inhalers, or pre-existing injuries. Marist abides by the 24-hour rule. Please allow 24 hours after the conclusion of a contest before attempting to make contact with a coach. Please do not attempt to confront a coach before or after a contest or practice. Do not attempt to contact a coach on their personal phone or at home. Regarding meetings, player-coach conversations or meetings are recommended before parents request a meeting with coaches. Player-coach communication fosters maturity and develops mutual respect and trust. When a player, parent, and coach meeting is necessary, please practice the 24-hour rule. Call or email the coach at school to set up a meeting. Coaches should respond within 24 hours. In most circumstances, students are required to attend these meetings with parents and coaches. If there is no resolution, a meeting with the athletic director can be scheduled. Issues not appropriate to discuss with coaches include playing time, team strategy, play calling, and other student athletes. Our competitive schedules have taken a real hit due to new rules regarding the COVID pandemic. I am asking our fall families to be patient as we reconstruct schedules once again, that were decimated by new rules and new guidelines. Currently, the guidelines only allow us to compete against schools within the ESCC or other conferences of which we are a member, in addition to schools within our COVID region. As you can see, the Marist COVID region is problematic and that it falls into the boundaries of the Chicago metropolitan area. In other words, we're unable to play schools within our geographical region that fall outside of the boundaries of Chicago. Our staff is working hard right now to find opponents that we are allowed to compete against. Group gatherings and spectator rules. Currently, gatherings of up to 50 individuals or fewer are permitted. So we do not, once again, we do not anticipate this impacting our fall sports as it pertains to our golf teams and our girls tennis team. We recognize that in swimming and cross country we may have to limit spectator sizes, and so not all parents or family members may be able to be spectators at events in those sports. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this video. As I said previously, topics related to athletics continue to develop each day. We will continue to update you as often as we are able. I look forward to seeing you at events in the near future. Thanks very much.